Yeah,
informal, super open. So,
I appreciate it. Okay. Well, everyone, welcome to, yes, our first monthly mastermind meeting of 2023. Woohoo. So thank you so much for joining us this month. I'm so excited to have Rob on our call today to talk about the wonderful things of working with Microsoft. And we all know how fun that is. So
I was going to say, maybe not all the wonderful things, maybe some wonderful things, but we're going to get under the covers, maybe talk about some of the less wonderful things.
Yeah, exactly. So, Rob, I will let you introduce yourself and take it away.
Thank you very much, Amy. So, Rob Fagan, I've been in the Microsoft partner ecosystem, mainly on the system integrator side for the better part of 20 years now. So, I've really had an opportunity to work with Microsoft and really understand how they work both with SIs or systems integrators and ISVs. So, and that's where we'll focus in on today. And then back in 2016 or 2015, I guess it was, I started a Microsoft partner company and grew that to about $5 million. And then just prior to early 2020, had the opportunity to sell the company. So, I've seen how Microsoft works both as an individual contributor and as an owner and partner. So that's really what we're going to peel back the onion on today. But so before I get started, though, and I jump into the presentation, I'd love to hear from each of you your experience with Microsoft, the things that you'd really like to get out of today's call, the things that if there was one place I could help you, what would that be? So that'll really help me tailor this. I mean, we've got a small enough group today that we can really go deep on any issue you want. So I'll open it up and see if Tristan, Stacy, or Mandy, you've got any questions or things you'd like to dig in deep on.
Don't all talk at once.
I don't have anything in specific.
Okay. Tristan or Mandy?
I was gonna say, I don't know that I have anything really specific either. I just, any opportunity that I can come and learn about just, best practices in working with Microsoft, how to best maneuver, the channel. I'm always here for, but I don't really have anything super specific.
Okay, well, I'll ask a follow-up question though. So I'm assuming everyone on the call considers himself an ISV as part of the ISV community within Microsoft and a partner with Microsoft. But are you formally connected with Microsoft, like you're in the ISV Success Program, or you've got your solution designation, if it rings a bell or makes any sense?
I would say those are some areas that we as a company are looking to further engage on in that side. We recently launched one of our apps through AppSource. Finally went through the throws, worked through all the throws and things that Microsoft puts at you. So we got through those hoops and we're officially up there and published. But there's still a lot to be accomplished, if you will, right, and to be done from that point. So those are some of the things that I'm interested in kind of hearing on is further expanding that relationship with Microsoft and going from there.
So you bring up something really important there, Tristan, is that a lot of partners, they think that they list their app or their product in the marketplace, and it's just like things will start happening and people will start visiting the page or Microsoft will start calling, and it's really not the case. It becomes sort of a two-pronged sales approach, is that you not only have to continue to sell your offer to the market at large, but you should start selling your offer inside of Microsoft and really trying to educate Microsoft on what you bring to the market, where your value is. And so we're going to dive in on that today. And that's, So with that, then I'll jump in and I'll share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, everybody seeing the title screen there?
Looks good.
Great. So I try and explain it. Microsoft is like a Rubik's Cube. I mean, it's complex. It's got all these moving parts to it. And, partners want to go from what they feel like today, which is this discombobulated, all messed up Rubik's Cube, over to the hey, I'm here, I understand it, everything's working perfectly. And now that's the real challenge that we're all faced with. And so challenge obviously is that the Rubik's Cube, just like Microsoft, has got millions, if not billions of combinations of ways to unlock this bad boy. So what I'll share with you is how I was successful doing that, and what you can, hopefully share some things that you can take away from this and find ways to increase your success with Microsoft. So, and for me, I've done it a few times now. I started back in 2008. I was hired on by a Cisco VAR, a value-added reseller, and they wanted to start a Microsoft practice. So you can imagine, I was going back in 2008. Microsoft and Cisco were like mortal enemies, so they just despised each other, and it was an interesting ride. And I really it's the first time I got to understand how complex Microsoft was in terms of a partner to work with. And I'll argue that they're more complex than a lot of other partners that are out there. So see that.
I'm sure we can all agree on that.
Yeah, right. Then I did it again for an Avaya partner in 2015. I was hired to help them build out their Microsoft practice. And then in 2016, I decided that that was enough. I'd had enough doing it for other people. So I went and built my own Microsoft partner. We not only had delivered Microsoft services, but we had a product that we were selling through the marketplace as well. So I get a little bit of, that's where I got a little bit, that was my first real true introduction to the ISV sort of approach and having to help educate Microsoft. And that was the really early days of marketplace, when it was sort of an afterthought, in my opinion, for Microsoft. So all that being said, I don't think it's any secret, Microsoft's super complex. There's all kinds of changes happening right now, especially this past October with the change to the new Microsoft Cloud Partner Program, doing away with the gold and silver, which was a really hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, both SI or systems integrators and ISVs. Everyone had to swallow this pill. And I think that for you all on the call, it was an even harder pill to swallow, because they essentially did away with any solution designation relevant to most ISVs. Now, obviously, they're talking about changing that, having some industry-specific designations that may help you as an ISV earn a designation within Microsoft. But regardless, I think that they dropped the ball a little bit there, or a lot, probably a better way to say that, in terms of qualifying for gold and silver was attainable for both systems integrators and ISVs, but that the new program really was not. So, and if you step back and just look at it from more of a holistic or an overview perspective, you've got on the left-hand side, you've got the partners there, who are all spinning their wheels, trying to figure out how do we work with Microsoft. But equally as challenging is on the other side of the equation, Microsoft's customers are in the same boat. It is super hard for a Microsoft customer to work with Microsoft, and typically they'll only see their seller, every couple few years, where historically they would only see their seller or their person from Microsoft every couple of few years when a contract was due. So it's been an interesting shift, and I think we're starting to see more and more of that historical approach change, where Microsoft is trying to be more active with their customer base, but they're also challenged with the fact that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of customers, depending on the market you're in, even individual sellers. Some might only have 2 or 3 accounts. Some sellers inside of Microsoft have 150 accounts. They'll never be able to touch all those customers. So there's still a lot of challenges faced by Microsoft in servicing their customers. And ideally, where we want to get to is here. We want to get to the place where Microsoft becomes the connector. They're connecting us with the customer, customers connecting directly with us, and Microsoft's just in the middle, sort of making it all happen and facilitating where needed. But really, we want to create this sort of connection where we're talking directly to the customer, customer's talking directly to us. And so that's the utopia where we're going to get to, or where we'd like to get to. The challenge is you got to get Microsoft in your corner and playing ball with you. And so I found that there's really 3 things that you just have to do to to earn that right to access Microsoft's customers, and sort of the right from the individual sellers or architects or solution folks inside of Microsoft. And so that's what we're going to cover for the next few minutes here is each one of these the 3 key moves that you as a business and as an owner can execute against to set yourself up to really become that go-to partner for Microsoft. So any questions before I move into the actual content? To kind of set the stage when we're ready to dive in. Good deal. I'll jump right in then. First thing is mindset. So you really have to approach Microsoft with a very specific mindset. And there's really, I say there's 3 things that you have to think about when you're trying to engage with Microsoft from that mindset perspective. The first is you've got to come at it with a win-win mentality. There's got to be something in it for everybody. And I mean the customer, I mean Microsoft, and obviously for yourself. So you have to really think about how am I creating this sort of trifecta of wins for everybody. But I want to caution you that when I say a win-win mentality, that does not equate to an equal amount of work from you versus Microsoft. I guarantee you that to really fall into that place with Microsoft where they view you as the go-to partner, you're going to own the lion's share of the work. They are excellent at farming out work and delegating. That's what they want, and in some cases that's what they need because they just don't have enough bandwidth to sell all the different products that they own or they're responsible for selling to hit their what we call their scorecard metrics. So Microsoft are measured on different metrics, and they need you as a partner, as an ISV, to come in and help them attain those metrics. So a lot of that, although it's a win-win mentality, it's not an equally distributed amount of work. So that's the first and foremost on mindset. And the next, it's very closely related to that, is what I refer to as the mindset of extreme ownership. And that is just, you have to own it. Whenever Microsoft is working with you, you've got to own the whole sort of process around the success of that engagement. Microsoft is, again, they've got all these irons in the fire, and they are looking for you to just take it and run. So I want to, be very clear that you just have to come into the relationship knowing that you're going to own the lion's share of all the parts of the sales process, whether it be the follow-up, whether it be the engagement with the customer, the presenting, doesn't matter. It really is going to fall on your shoulders. And then finally is a growth mindset. And I say this because it's working with Microsoft, there's just always going to be setbacks. I had an opportunity in my last company to have the good fortune of getting introduced to an area, the Las Colinas office, which is where all their SMC, small to medium corporate accounts are managed out of there in Fargo, North Dakota. So we got to speak to 100 or 150 salespeople, but it was an equal amount of people that liked me versus didn't like me, liked working with me versus didn't like working with me. And you just have to know that that's how it's going to be. Some people are going to like what you've got. They're going to like what you do, who you are, what your company's all about, and some aren't. And so you just have to move past the negative stuff of that and say, okay, I'm just going to focus on the people that I can influence and the people that do want to partner with me. So you really can't get dragged down in the fact that there's going to be a set of people inside Microsoft that just aren't happy with what you do or how you're doing it. So I will pause there, see if there are any questions on the mindset approach. Okay, then now we're getting into much more tactical things that are going to affect you and that you can influence much more directly. So we'll start on this is all about the mechanics. So this is about the things that you can do to set yourself up inside of Microsoft in the best light, in a way that really empowers you to get the most attention from Microsoft, the best kind of attention from Microsoft, and it really starts in Partner Center. So I'll just ask is there anybody on this call that's not using Partner Center or isn't familiar with Partner Center at Microsoft?
Oh, I'm not really using it. I am vaguely familiar with it actually from my previous company, but I think from my role here, we tend to forget about it.
Right. So I'll tell you the interesting part about Partner Center is it's right now, with the exception of if you have a transactable offer in the marketplace, Partner Center is the only way that Microsoft can see how you're influencing business. So it's something that if your application isn't transactable today, I encourage you to start looking at it, see where it might be relevant for you. And we're going to talk about some of the different areas here around how you can take advantage of Partner Center, how you can start to raise your awareness inside of Microsoft. So we'll buckle up and we'll get started here. The first area is the solution designation. So I alluded to this earlier. It was a huge change. A lot of people, well, all partners lost their gold, silver status. And right out of the gate, only a small percentage of those sort of automatically qualified for the solution designation had already done the sort of legwork of getting the certifications, attaching what's called CPOR, or claiming partner of record, deployment DPOR, or deploying partner of record. There's all these different modalities that you can connect to a customer. And so unless you had done that beforehand, you were essentially just wiped off of the partner designation board. So first and foremost, look at this. As I said, and I think I mentioned earlier, Microsoft is looking at some new industry solution designations. And my experiences for most of the ISVs that I work with and partner with is that that's going to be their quickest path to a designation, because all of the solution designations, the 6 you see here, require that you have done deployments of either Azure or Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Security, Dynamics, and Power BI, Power Apps. So if you aren't doing those directly, then you're not getting credit for it. And if you are, and you're not attaching that deployment to your organization, you're not getting the solution designation. So again, here's the first place. Microsoft won't even see you on the partner board. The only thing they'll see is that you paid your Microsoft dues of whatever it is, $4,500 or some crazy number like that for essentially nothing. So once we've talked about, we've talked about the solution designation. Next thing we need to talk about is the marketplace. And so, Tristan, you've recently, it sounded like, got your application listed in the marketplace, which is phenomenal. That's the first best step, is getting into the marketplace as an ISV. But I think
Rob, we're all the way to AppSource now.
Really start aggressively driving people to be transactable in the marketplace. So phenomenal to have an offering there, and so it incents Microsoft sellers to utilize the marketplace, or Microsoft incents people to use the marketplace, especially if it's transactable, because then it's hitting the Microsoft seller's compensation plan, essentially. So Microsoft on those transactable apps can see, okay, this company sold this, or this ISV sold this, it's attached to this customer who's owned by this Microsoft rep, and they will get a portion of quota relief for that sale. So it's something to, great, Tristan, thanks on both. So something to be very aware of is that if you're not in the marketplace, please, that should be the first thing you do, is get an offer into the marketplace. As Tristan probably experienced, it's not always the easiest thing to do. There's plenty of hoops to jump through and process that Microsoft makes you go through, but it is worth it. And as a business, if your app isn't transactable, it's something to look into. It's what is that going to take to go from just being a contact me offer to a transactable offer in the marketplace. And you'll see there's different sort of tiers of offers that, the contact me offer, the free trial offer, and then the transactable offer. So as you go through the process, you'll experience each one of those, and there's different requirements to attain and get listed there. So pause here and see if there are any questions about the marketplace, because I think it is one of the most important things that as an ISV you can do is to get into the Microsoft Marketplace.
Is everyone in the marketplace and on AppSource? I know, Tristan, you said you were, right?
Correct.
Yeah, great.
If you guys can hear me, we're on both.
Green Shades is, I had a question. So is it really that big of a difference? I don't know if there are kind of stats or benchmarks on having a transactable marketplace listing versus, like you said, like the contact me kind of thing. Because I've heard that before, obviously, right? And ours is not. So ours is, is contact us.
Yeah.
So if that's something, that we need to look towards, I'm just wondering if somebody, or if there's some kind of way to kind of understand that value in trying to make that transactable, like the big difference there.
Yeah, so the main difference is, well, it's a fewfold, and it's right now it's heavily weighted in Microsoft's favor, because as a transactable app, what happens is the revenue shows up on Microsoft's top line sort of revenue line. So Microsoft is getting the credit. They're only taking a 3% cut. So the cut is nominal. They're going to cut you a check for the 97% of the offer. Where this becomes enticing for Microsoft, and for the customer for that matter, is that customers, when they sign up with Microsoft, they have something called a MAC commit. And it's essentially, if you sign a contract with Microsoft, that contract holds you to consume a certain percentage of Microsoft, whether it's Azure, Microsoft 365. You've basically signed up for some consumption number, some usage number. And what Microsoft does is they have a commitment from you. They say, you'll get to buy it at this price if you use this much. So we'll give you the price down here, but you have to consume this much. If you don't consume this much, we'll raise your price. So they, it's called a MAC commit. I forget the acronym, but it essentially says the customer commits to using that much of Microsoft, and for that, they'll get this discounted price. If you have an application that consumes Microsoft services, whether it be in Dynamics or Azure, or wherever it is, it's consuming those services or using those services, that counts against the customer's MAC commit. So the customer now gets to check the box of buying your product and meeting Microsoft's commitment. So again, one might argue that really doesn't help you as a business owner or a business leader, but what it does help is it incents the customer to buy your product versus another product, because your product is going to help them, what we call, burn down their MAC commit. So that's one thing. And then next is that as a transactable app, the Microsoft seller automatically gets credit for that sale. So now if I'm a Microsoft seller, I'm an account executive, and I've got to pick between two ISVs to introduce to my customer, I'm going to pick the one that helps me reduce my quota. And I get a small bump in commission on the back end, paid by Microsoft, not by you as the ISV. So I believe that we're going to see Microsoft really push hard on the transactable app. I think the marketplace, AppSource, Azure Marketplace, all of them are very, very early on in their life cycle. So they don't do a lot of like promoting or raising awareness of one product over another. There are some things they're doing today, but very nominal in terms of that. But I think as the marketplaces mature, we'll see the transactable apps be the apps that get surfaced for customers to see right away versus the non-transactable, the contact me offers. So I believe it's today, yeah, you could argue it's not as valuable or not as much in your favor to spend the money, because it's not a trivial exercise to become transactable. There's a lot of back end programming. So today, Mandy, I don't know that I would say, yeah, you have to do it, but 12 months from now, 24 months from now, I don't think that's going to be the same. I think that if you're not transactable on the Azure Marketplace or AppSource, you're really going to be at a disadvantage to other ISVs. So, hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think for the most part. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, moving on. So the other area inside of the Partner Center that is going to be useful for you is what's referred to as the referral section or the lead section. And this is another way to get on Microsoft's radar. So you can input your leads into Partner Center, and those leads are automatically transmitted or sent some magical way to the Microsoft seller that owns that account. So the Microsoft seller then gets an opportunity to accept or reject the lead. But regardless of what the seller does, every time you input a lead, they're seeing your name. They're like, okay, this person is influencing deals or is in my account. They're there. And especially if you're doing something that they're not aware of, you're likely to get a call in very short order, like, hey, what are you doing there? Who are you working with? Because there's really three things that Microsoft sellers want from you. That's the obvious one. They want to get revenue. So if they can drive revenue, they're very interested. If you've got something that's relevant to the customer, something that's creating an interesting discussion, interesting for the customer to solve one of their problems, so it's relevant to their customer, they're interested in knowing more about that. And then the third thing is relationships. If you hold relationships that they don't have, that's very valuable to Microsoft, especially as Microsoft is trying to push outside of their traditional IT space. Microsoft is famous for really only working in the IT space and not really being involved in the business, not really understanding what the business leaders are trying to accomplish. They're more about, hey, just sign this enterprise agreement or just sign this CSP agreement and we'll be out of your hair for 3 years. That's historically how they've approached it. So being that you're all in the lines of business, you potentially hold some very valuable relationships for Microsoft, and you can leverage those relationships to get into Microsoft. And then the next way is through attaching the work you do to your organization. And so think of DPOR, CPOR. This is transacting partner of record, claiming partner of record. CSP is the new licensing program, and then PAL is if you're connecting Azure usage to your organization. That's how you do it there. CSP is if you sell the Microsoft 365 licenses, you can do that. You can connect those to your organization. And CPOR, if you're deploying, say, Dynamics as an example, you can claim that. So that's another way to get more recognition through Partner Center, because every time you link your business to a customer, that raises your awareness inside of Microsoft. So I will pause there, see if there are any questions on this.
So Rob, basically
Awesome.
anybody should import their lead. Like if you're working on a Dynamics lead, you should put it in there.
You should absolutely put it in Partner Center. So because it's one of the, getting a hold of a Microsoft seller is not always easy. Sometimes you don't even know who it is. And sometimes your customers don't even know who they're working with. So that's one way to attach yourself to an opportunity and get that in front of a customer. So yes, I encourage you to use Partner Center to input your leads. Great. Next topic that we're going to cover is messaging. So this is the third and sort of final move that is going to be really important. And this is especially important when you're when you're first meeting Microsoft. You really have to have a clear, concise message. And we'll talk about it more here in a moment, but it's one of the areas where I see partners fall down is that right out of the gate, the first time they meet a Microsoft seller or architect, they're just into this long diatribe of what they do, who they are, where they came from, and the attention span of Microsoft is not always the longest, and they're it can become a challenge if you're over contributing to the conversation, at least early on. Give them an opportunity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And my hope is that we'll go through this and you can take this part of the presentation and just layer it right over what you're doing today to create a nice, clear, concise message that if you bumped into a Microsoft seller, at a trade show or wherever, you could use this and you'd have a sort of 60 to 90 second about us pitch that you can just use over and over again, just enough to start a conversation, but not too much that you're not overwhelming them with content. So with that, this is going to be more of a hands-on work here, and touched on this already that I can't tell you the number of times I see people get on the phone with Microsoft for the very first time and they're just right into like a 30, 60-minute pitch, and Microsoft's like, no, stop. I've already got a partner. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So little quiz here just to give you a feel for the average attention span of a person these days is just 8 seconds. So when you sit there and you're rolling in that long pitch, you're probably way, way, way longer than you need to be to get to that next step. So with that, we're going to talk about building your message. And it's really just 4 questions. If you can answer these 4 questions quickly, you'll have hit the hot buttons that Microsoft needs. And they'll appreciate knowing where you fit in the ecosystem. They'll appreciate that you use their time wisely. And more so, they'll appreciate that you told them what they needed to hear to make a decision quickly. So here goes. First thing they want to know is who you are. So pretty straightforward there, just super concise. Then what you do, who you do it for. So what's your target market? And then finally, and this is the one that's most important, is what's in it for them? What's in it for Microsoft? What do they get out of working with you? Because you have to remember, these field folks, they're all compensated. They're either straight up salespeople that are compensated on sales, so license sales, net new, or they're compensated on usage and consumption. So they're going to want to know very quickly which one of those buckets you're going to help them with. So give you an example, you've got your account executive, straight up license sales. If you're familiar with what's referred to as the customer success account manager, they're compensated on something completely different, which is usage and consumption. So you really need to understand where you fit and where your organization fits in helping drive one or both of those so that you can articulate that. What I'm going to do now is just give you a quick example of when I first started with that Cisco partner. I had to figure out how I was going to work with Microsoft, how I was going to get them interested in working with us, knowing that we, at that time, back in 2008, we sold a 100% competitive product. We sold phone systems, and Microsoft was just trying to break into the phone system business. So give you an idea of, that was the frame of reference that they had trying to work with them. So first is who we were. So we're a communications partner. And what we did was we delivered a seamless voice and video experience for companies with local, national, and global offices. So who it's for, who we're doing it for. And then finally, using Microsoft OCS or Link, delivering on average 500 net new license sales per client. So super simple. If you look at that and we piece it all together, we were a communications partner delivering a seamless voice and video experience for companies with local, national, and global offices using Microsoft Link, delivering on average 500 net new license sales. And so I just told Microsoft, the seller, in under 30 seconds, everything that they needed to know to make a quick decision on, hey, do I want to talk to this person? Are they relevant to me? And so they immediately knew who I was. I fell into this bucket of voice and video. What we did, we delivered what they wanted, which was a seamless voice and video experience for their customers. I only did it for companies that had multiple offices, that needed to connect multiple offices, whether it be local, national, global. We did that. And then most importantly, what was in it for them was I was going to sell licenses. It was that simple. And that's what I encourage you to think about when you're trying to craft a message for Microsoft, especially on that early on, because I'll tell you 100% of the time after I pitched this message, the first question they asked me was, who have you done that for? And then it was the floodgates are open. Then we were just going to be talking forever because we could talk about examples we would talk about customer stories, and it just became a very fluid conversation. So this was the door opener that answered all the questions that Microsoft was going to have about who we are, what we did, how we did it, and what they were going to get out of working with me. So I encourage you to go through this exercise. It doesn't need to be long. You can craft these messages pretty quickly, but I'll tell you, it pays dividends when you're trying to connect with Microsoft. So I'll pause there, see if there are any questions about the messaging.
I'll just say I think that's great. I think it's a good general reminder, not just when talking to Microsoft, but oftentimes in general. I think in a lot of similar relationships and introductions,
It's
we all
so
tend to
true.
go.
It absolutely is. I mean, when I coach other partners, and especially when I'm coaching the salespeople that work at those partners, it never ceases to amaze me when I ask somebody to tell me a bit about their company, what they ramble on about. I'm like, no, I didn't ask about your work. I did not ask about your friends. I did not ask about where you went to school. None of that. It's just, if you can get real clear, real crisp and concise on what you're doing, it pays dividends in so many areas. You're right, not just Microsoft. I mean, it just is, it's a really a best practice as in business in general. So.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to, I think obviously for myself as well, I think it's a good takeaway, but it's actually something I really want to share with my sales team and
Yeah,
the folks
Right.
that, like, for me particularly, like, I don't, I'm in our marketing team, so I don't have a lot of the relationship with Microsoft. I'm more, kind of trying to work within the channel and the marketing pieces, but I will share that with my teams that have a lot of communications with Microsoft directly, more than me.
Yeah, I mean, it will pay huge dividends for them if they do it right. They get their message clear and concise. And so let me do this. Is that this wraps up sort of the presentation of partnering with Microsoft. But what I wanted to do for everyone on this call is go a little bit deeper in terms of not just the how, but the who. So a lot of the people I work with are challenged with, okay, I understand this now. This is great information, but who the heck do I talk to? Like, where do I start? There's just, Microsoft is a few less people these days, but I mean, it's still north of 200,000 employees. So it's not an easy organization to navigate. So
Yes, great.
doing these things that we just covered, you can unlock access to different people, programs, and prospects. But what I also wanted to do was to add this little bonus section in here that where do you start and who do you start with? How do you start getting these connections? And so I wanted to go through it and share with you the people inside of Microsoft that I personally follow on LinkedIn. I connect with you know, they may not be first connections for me, but I'm definitely following everybody on these lists that I'm going to share with you. And I engage in the conversation with them. So when they post something, I'm notified on LinkedIn, and I try my best personally to comment on their posts, to share their posts, to weigh in on their posts for a few reasons. One is I want to be on their radar. You know, I want them to know what I do, who I am. But more than that, these people are essentially influencers inside of Microsoft. These are people, they're all leaders or very well respected people inside of Microsoft that hundreds, if not thousands, of Microsoft employees are following. So when I comment on, say, Lonnie Phillips, one of her posts, or Dan Rippey's posts, not only does Lonnie or Dan see my comments, but everybody that follows them sees my comments as well. So what's happened there is all of a sudden I've raised my brand awareness, my personal brand awareness, my company's brand awareness in the eyes of not just these few people on this page, but also everybody that follows them gets an opportunity to see my content. And I'm personally pretty active on LinkedIn. So these people, because I'm commenting on their stuff, LinkedIn does me the favor of more times than not putting my content in their feed because I'm following them. Some of them follow me back. They see my content in their feed. They start seeing my perspective on the world. They start seeing that I'm a supporter of the Microsoft ecosystem. You know, so I'm no longer an unknown entity in their minds. Although they don't know necessarily, they've not necessarily met me. They don't necessarily know a lot about me, but they've seen my face via LinkedIn. They've seen my perspective. They understand my point of view. And so it really, that time that I am going to reach out to them or I do need something from them, you know, they're more likely to engage with me. And even more so, the people that follow them, especially those field folks that follow them, the account executives and the cloud solution architects and customer success managers, they hopefully will have seen my name before. So it's not like I'm some cold outreach. You know, there's some level of connectivity there. So I'd highly encourage you from the partner perspective. These are sort of the key influencers in what Microsoft refers to as GPS or Global Partner Solutions Group. So all the people that manage partners in Microsoft. The next list of folks are these folks here. They focus in on the small to medium corporate accounts. So these are previous group of people were all on the partner side. They all manage partners or relevant for partner management. These people, on the other hand, are directly involved in selling. They're directly involved in selling to the what we refer to as SMC or small to medium corporate accounts. So these are all essentially sellers, you know, influencers inside of Microsoft, leaders inside of Microsoft. So again, I highly encourage you to follow them, participate in the conversation. If they touch on something that's relevant to you, great. If not, hey, no worries, unfollow them. Don't lose any sleep over it. It's, you know, this is just an opportunity to raise your personal awareness within Microsoft and your company's brand awareness inside of Microsoft. And finally is these folks, and I'm not sure why some of them are blue and some are black. Nothing to read behind that. But these are all folks that are specific to either Dynamics or the ISV community. So, you know, knowing the world that you're all working in, these people are probably my number one for you to follow. Like, you know, now, if you're on the marketing side and you want to follow from the GPS folks because you're trying to work on the relationship, fantastic. But these folks right here are all highly active people on LinkedIn that will or can influence business, direct business, like deals, deal flow. You know, I've met with Rob Ash, and you know, he's on the front lines. He's out there driving Dynamics business all day long. Brian, I've also chatted with. His only goal in life is to get ISVs in front of customers. So these are guys that I would, and gals, to highly recommend you follow to be aware. And the beauty of this too is that you'll start following this small group of people, and you'll start to see the other people will weigh in, other people land comments on their posts, and you'll start to expand your network. You'll start to see, oh, there's other relevant people I should follow. So maybe I was following Rob for a while, but Rob's a little goofy, and he's got some. He runs this crazy book club where you have to read a book a week. Yeah, I'm not into that, so I'm gonna unfollow Rob. But Rob introduced me to these 4 other people that are really, really tightly aligned with what I do. So that is my bonus tip for everyone on the call: is follow these people. It will be worth the effort to get them connected, or get connected to them, or at least following them on LinkedIn, because you'll not only learn a lot from them, but you'll expand your network and potentially uncover some new relationships that end up in direct business. So with that, my only ask is that a shameless plug to follow me on LinkedIn.
Yes,
And,
definitely follow Rob on
Amy
LinkedIn.
follows me, so
Yeah, I do. I like the content you share. I don't
Thanks,
remember how I
Jason.
came across you, Rob, but yeah, I think it was a few months back that I started following you, so I like it.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's I mean, it's an area. I mean, it's as crazy as it is, and as crazy as Microsoft is. I really enjoy it. I've met some great people through doing this, and I personally think Microsoft has a great ecosystem set of products. The just navigating the organization is a challenge. So.
Mhm.
Amy, that was what I wanted to cover today. So thank you so much for the
Well,
invite,
thank
and I'm
you.
happy to stick on as long as anybody would like, and answer any questions.
It looks like we all have some homework to do to follow some people on LinkedIn.
Y'all do, and for everyone on the call, Amy has a copy of this, so the PDF it's got direct links, so you don't even have to search. You can just click and go. I made it as easy
Yes.
as I could.
So I will share
Amy.
that and the recording.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you could share it whenever you share the recording, that'd be great.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, I want to be able to share this with Camille. It's a little late for him,
Yeah.
since he's over in Europe, but I think he would really have enjoyed this. So thanks, Rob.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. And the people on the list I shared are all North American based, I think, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. But there's a set of executives, globally, whichever country. So I work with some partners out of Finland, and I mean they've got a robust Microsoft network, sort of in each region. So for those that aren't North American based, it's not hard to find the executives outside of North America either.
Great.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what exactly I expected or wanted to get from joining today, but I'm glad I did. This was helpful. Thank you.
I'm glad, Mandy. Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Mandy, Stacy, and Tristan. So like I mentioned, I'll share the recording with you guys and these slides. And then, yeah. So feel free to reach out to Rob, connect with him on LinkedIn. He always provides valuable content out there.
Yeah,
Already
please
did.
do.
And we all know how fun it is to work with Microsoft.
And if y'all do
I mean,
have any questions,
Rob, they don't
just
give you a handbook or anything. They just expect you to figure it out on your own,
oh yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, it took me quite a few years and a lot of like heartache to really get to a place where the concept is co-selling. So ultimately, you want to be a co-sell ready partner.
Yeah.
And
I honestly don't think ISVs, and feel free to prove me wrong, guys, that we don't grasp that. I don't think we grasp how to work with Microsoft in this way. Because again, they don't really provide guidance or a handbook. So you kind of just have to figure it out on your own. But it is a totally different animal compared to any other ERP. I can vouch for that.
yeah, it's true in any space. I mean, in the ERP space, I know they're difficult to work with, but it's no different even on the, when I had that Cisco example, Cisco was a much easier partner to work with. I mean, they've got their own problems, but they were, from a partner perspective, it was so much easier to partner with Cisco. And what I hear is that Amazon is much easier as well, from partners that play in both spaces. They say that Amazon is much easier to work with. And hey, I don't know what they figured out that Microsoft hasn't, but I can tell you that I've built multi-million-dollar practices. I've built a multi-million-dollar business working with Microsoft. So I don't even worry about it. I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out and I'll just make my money here. So
Yeah,
cool.
kudos.
Great.
saw
Well,
it,
again, thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. Tristan, Stacy, and Andy, it was so nice to meet you and to chat with you all. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Any other questions
yeah.
before we jump off?
Not for me, but I did already connect with you, so I might reach out if I do have some additional.
Yeah, please reach out to me. And Amy, if anybody wants my email address, feel free to share it.
Sure,
But
I'll put
I
that in
respond to
there.
email and LinkedIn direct messages just the same. So either way is fine.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for
Thanks a
joining
lot.
us this month as well. And thank you so much, Rob, for providing this awesome content. I do appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. I had a lot of fun. So thanks. Take
Thanks,
care, everybody.
everyone.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks,
Bye.
Amy. Bye.